I've made videos in the past about TLD or top-level domain, those letters you see at the end of a URL, .com, .net, .au, .xyz, .jp. We can keep doing this literally all day. Now, follow along with me for this video, okay? This was a good excuse to talk about something that I think is really interesting. Today, I want to highlight one that does not yet exist, but considering the current support, it very well might sometime soon. Some people sent me .furry. Furries make the internet go. It's time we had a top-level domain to call our own. Help us bring .furry to life. Now, the reason why I say this is probably going to happen is they are already at nearly $60,000 of the $90,000 required, and there's still over a month and a half to go. The current gTLD round opened on April 30th with a base application fee of $227,000 before additional fees. However, this round includes something new, the Applicant Support Program, ASP. We have been formally accepted into the ASP and will be receiving at least a 75% reduction in fees. So gTLD are your generic top-level domain. These are things like .com, .net, .org, .xyz, all of these generic top-level domains that don't have a specific purpose. Something like a .au, that is a country code top-level domain that is specifically for use by that country. Now, sometimes the countries use them generically, but that's not their core focus. The ones that have no specific function, those are gTLD, and .furry would be one of those. Alongside quite a few more. I think the number's something around like 1,700 now? I actually don't even know how many it is. Also, you have internationalized domains and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot. This isn't even a complete list, but there is a lot. If you want a new TLD, ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, basically, the TLD people want a fee in the process. This is because it's not just a matter of giving you a string of characters, there is a lot of infrastructure that goes into actually making all of this function. This time though, as was mentioned, they have this support program. This was developed as part of ICANN's new generic top-level domain program. The ASP was intended to make applying for a new gTLD or operating a registry more accessible to applicants who would be otherwise unable due to financial or resource constraints. The ASP was for gTLD applicants seeking financial and non-financial support. Even with the support program, there are still things they need to pay for. Obviously is the reduced application fee, various additional ICANN fees depending on application processing, legal and compliance work, operational costs before launch, and platform fees. As such, they are raising $90,000. Our team has already committed significant time and money to this project and will continue to do so, but will not be able to do this alone. As a non-profit, our funding options are quite limited. Most traditional funding sources are motivated by brands and profit. That is why we need your help. We want it to be for furries, by furries. Also, they will be trying to seek grants and various other forms of sponsorship. Whilst all of what I said is generally true, you gotta go through ICANN, you gotta go through their process, you gotta pay their fees, and if all things go well, eventually you get a new TLD, people can sign up for it, and all things are well. This is only generally true. You don't actually have to go through ICANN if all you are looking for is a TLD. Whilst they're trying to get the .furry TLD, there was already a furry TLD in use, that being .fur. This was started back in 2006, and then decommissioned in 2007, then picked up by new operators in 2008, then decommissioned in 2009, and then picked up by new owners, and is still operating there today. Whilst it had a little bit of a rocky start, a little bit of a rocky history, they have a TLD. .fur is the furry TLD. So why are they trying to get another one? Why do they want .furry? Are they just really greedy and want two of them? Well, no, not at all. Let's try something. Let's try to ping the main page, the home page, like the sign-up page for the .fur TLD. That is nick.fur. name or service not known. Well, that's weird because I know that TLD does exist. It does exist, but not exactly. .fur is a real TLD, but it's not an ICANN TLD. As I said before, ICANN is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. They define the TLD you use, and well over 99% of people follow this standard. You don't even know you're following this standard because it is so much of a standard. This is just the internet to most people out there. But when we look at a server, servers don't speak in domain names, they speak in IP addresses. But if you want to connect to youtube.com or x.com or any other site out there, you don't typically write in the IP address, you write in a domain name. That domain name is converted into an IP address with something known as a domain name server, DNS. Out of the box, you're probably using the DNS provided by your ISP, but you can swap to a new DNS like the Cloudflare DNS or Google DNS, or you could actually just go and run your own DNS, and that's not really that difficult. In fact, the hardware you need isn't actually that crazy. But with all the servers out there, with all the domain names out there, how does relatively low-powered hardware manage to do that and still actually be usable? Well, it's probably not doing everything. DNS operates in a hierarchy, so things that are lower in the hierarchy can inherit information from things that are higher. But if that's the case, there has to be a top. There has to be a root DNS. And that is something which exists. One of these is directly operated by ICANN, but there are 12 others as well. Obviously, this is not 12 individual servers. There is redundant systems, there is backups, all of this stuff. And then ICANN basically operates as this oversee committee, making sure they're all doing the right thing. But this is not all that is out there. There is also what is known as an alternate root DNS. For example, OpenNIC. Also referred to as the OpenNIC project, this is a user-owned and controlled top-level network information center offering a non-national alternative to traditional top-level domain TLD registries such as ICANN. Use of OpenNIC DNS servers enables host name resolution in the legacy US government DNS OpenNIC operated namespaces and namespaces that OpenNIC has peer agreements with. Looking for an open and democratic alternative DNS route? Concerned about censorship? There should be an OpenNIC logo right here. Don't know why it's not there. OpenNIC might be the solution for you. This is something you have to actively choose to interact with. You will never find any of these TLD simply by using a regular ICANN DNS. Some of them, if you run it yourself, you could set it up, probably, but any regular DNS, not even remotely involved here. But you might know some of these TLD. For example, we have .bbs for bulletin board systems, .chan, a top-level domain for image boards and communities related to image board culture, .cyb for cyberpunk-related content, DYN, dynamic DNS pointers, Epic, a general-purpose TLD for anything epic, .geek, anything of a personal or hobbyist nature that would be considered geeky, Gopher, content delivery via the Gopher protocol. I know people don't really talk about it nowadays. There was this thing on Linux YouTube like 5 or so years ago where a bunch of people were talking about Gopher. This is where Gopher content can be found. Indie for independent media and arts. Libre, organizations that encourage the non-commercial use of the free internet. .neo, leaning towards themes present in the emo culture. .null, completely non-commercial and only natural persons. .o, general purpose. .oss, exclusively for open source software. .oz, for Australian websites different to .au. This is an alternative country code TLD. .parody for non-commercial parody work, and .pirate for internet freedom and sharing. Ah yes, internet freedom, that's what .pirate's for sure. But they also peer with a bunch of other projects as well. They have Emmacoin, which is a bunch of cryptocurrency and online digital exchange kinds of things, along with having .lib, which is the words library and liberty. But the one we care about today, Furnic. Furnic are the people running .fur. We also have New Nations, .ku for Kurdish people, .te for Tamil Elam, apologize for that, .ti for Tibet, .uu for the Uyghur people, and then .ko and .rm for their internal usage. But again, that is still not everything. There is a Wikipedia page here listing out some of the implementations out there. Obviously, we have OpenNIC, but there is Handshake, Namecoin, Yeti DNS Project, .chn, this was something in China, and the Russian National Domain Name System started back in 2019, and as of 2021, all of their servers located at the Moscow Internet Exchange, but there are some other projects which no longer really exist anymore. Even Microsoft at one point was trying to make use of this. They had real names back in the days of Internet Explorer. Just imagine the world we'd be in if you had ICANN and then real names, and then ICANN was effectively forced to integrate with that because it got so big, Internet Explorer never died. What a world that would be. Whilst there is some level of usage of .fur, it's part of Furnic, it's paired with OpenNIC. Because it's not accessible on the wider internet as part of ICANN's TLD, most people probably have absolutely no idea this even exists. Let's go back to the .furry page because I want to read the rest of this pitch. Furries make the internet go, and we need infrastructure that belongs to us. You may remember around 2012 that there were suddenly more ways for our websites to end, including .social, .engineering, and the ever-popular .dog. We believe the time has come to add .furry to this esteemed list. These endings are called generic top-level domains, gTLD for short. ICANN, the organization in charge of this canonical list, has begun the process of creating a new wave of gTLDs. Getting a new TLD approved is an expensive affair on the order of $250,000. That's where we have good news. Our hackerspace and non-profit paw print prototyping has been accepted to a new program ICANN has introduced called the ASP. Again, we've read the rest of this, so I think we'll stop with that. When you back our campaign at the $30 plus level, you get a voucher good for 1 year of .furry domain registration at wholesale cost. Multiple vouchers can be combined for a single domain or split arbitrarily across multiple. You'll save on initial registration and directly support the launch of the TLD. Contribute at one of these levels to secure your perks. For $5,000, you get 256 domain vouchers, and there's also some various merch in there as well. This is kind of the main reason I'm supporting this and kind of want this to exist, because I want to see companies absolutely scramble to buy the .furry version of their TLD, because this happens every time there is a new gTLD. Google, Amazon, Apple, all of these companies, PayPal, have to immediately go and buy up everything to make sure that people don't get Google.furry or Google. Any of these other ones that exist. Why .furry? Furry has always been a part of the internet. Before the World Wide Web even existed, we were finding our niches in MUDs, those are multi-user dungeons, Usenet, and IRC. Our goal with .furry is to cement our place in the foundations of the internet while providing a domain that our community can congregate within. Over time, the internet has grown more and more centralized and commoditized. Communities that previously found a home in the internet have been increasingly marginalized, forced to hop from platform to platform, bending to the whims of those seeking to profit from their engagement. While we can't magically address restrictive platforms, we hope to provide another step towards digital sovereignty within our community. The .furry TLD will provide an inseparable niche for our community while helping fund further development. The .furry domain will have open registration. This means anyone may purchase and operate a domain under .furry. Individuals, artists, conventions, community hubs, and companies alike. Open registration also allows for entities outside of our community to register a domain, helping us fund further development within our community. Now, open registration does mean some very interesting things are going to happen here. All I will say is do a search on what happened when the .gay TLD was made, and you will understand what I am talking about. This might seem like an entirely random thing to have a TLD for, but that ship sailed a long time ago. I am of the mindset that outside of the core general TLD, the country code TLD, and maybe a couple things like an XYZ and things like that, most of them don't need to exist. For example, there is .mobi for mobile-friendly websites, also known as basically every website now. There is at least 2 different TLD dedicated for porn, .xxx and .sexy. There are probably others as well. I actually don't know. There is .coffee. Did you know that Google has a TLD? Also, there's a .blockbuster TLD. It's technically still in existence. It is not available for public registration, but it does exist. For some reason, then you have my personal favorite, which solely exists for shipping malware. For some reason, they made a big deal about this. .zip and .mov. Why? Why do they exist? At this point, frankly, I couldn't care less about any new TLD that are made. Frankly, just start hitting random keys on your keyboard. That's basically the state we're in. So you might as well have a .furry TLD. Like, with everything else here, you might as well. Who even cares anymore? There are still places that this can fail. Firstly, with an ICANN rejection. Although we have been approved as part of ICANN's applicant support program, ICANN may decline our application. If this occurs, we will work to return all funds not yet spent on non-refundable costs, filing fees, legal, etc. The timeline. The 2026 gTLD round is expected to take a significant amount of time. ICANN states that the estimated duration of a conventional application will fall within 14.5 to 19.5 months. What a random range. However, processing order and conditional processes may extend that timeline. We are hoping for a launch around late 2027, early 2028. ICANN estimates a maximum completion date for all 2026 round processing to be mid-2030. Market adoption and partner support. As an open registration TLD, we will need registrars like Namecheap and Porkbun and various other places like that to support purchasing .furry domains. Your support via this funding campaign directly helps us demonstrate to potential registrars that there is a market for the furry TLD. Now, there were additional things outside of the vouchers you could get. If this does fail, you will still get all of the physical merch, like the wallpaper and stickers and shirts and various other things like that, but the vouchers obviously only come if the TLD is actually accepted. At the end of the day, I don't really care what happens with this, but it was a good excuse to talk about alternate DNS routes, and I learned something as I was looking into the past of this. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this down below. Do you want this to succeed? Do you not want it to? Have you already supported it? Are you not going to support it? I'm sure the comment section is going to be nothing but friendly. Anyway, if you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well. And if you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Stelly Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and no, I'm not a furry.
What